When getting a VR headset, you might be torn on what medieval fighting game to get, seeming like there's like 100 of them. So you might be wondering which one is the best. Immediately your brain probably thinks to Blade and Sorcery, but let me say that Blade and Sorcery is not what it's hyped up to be. And that leads us to today's topic, Hellsplit Arena, my favourite medieval fighting game. Now that I've triggered the entirety of the VR community, let's get straight into the video. So this game has just about as much story as a children's colouring book, with a few cutscenes spread out between each boss in the game. It's very straightforward and basically just explains how you get to the next new arena. So here's a basic rundown of the entire story. Mysterious evil man resurrects you to fight even more resurrected, evil, not so much mysterious men. Then every now and again you will see the appearance of an eviler man. When you kill the eviler man, you end up in a new place. When you end up in a new place, you kill another eviler man. And when you reach the end, you fight the evil mysterious man that was the one that resurrected you all along. Oh. And that's it, the game ends. So what is Hellsplit Arena? Well, it's pretty simple. It's a bunch of arenas with a bunch of zombie dudes that come after you, and you kill them. About as simple as it gets. And in the best way possible. So like in most VR games, you have your basic controls. You can walk around, you can swing your arms, you can punch and grab, and there's even a kick button, something that is often missing in a lot of other VR games. Bone Lab. Overall, the control scheme is something that's very similar to other games like Bone Lab, which of course for me is a complete plus, because I love Bone Lab. If you couldn't tell. It's simple and gets the job done. And being able to actually move around is something I always look for in a VR game, and this one definitely has that freedom. But that is the basic premise of this game. Put your VR headset on, load up the game, activate caveman brain instinct to kill, and just bash some heads in. But now that begs the question, whose heads are we going to be banging in? Well, let's go and take a look at the enemies and combat in this game have a surprising amount of depth to them, and there's actually many different classes and types of enemies you find throughout the game. On top of this, most enemies can come equipped with different types of armor, different types of shields, and different types of weaponry, mixing up the gameplay all of the time. And not all the enemies are close range. There are also enemies like archers. Don't get me started on the archers. And there's even enemies like giant sets of possessed armor, Terraria style. So I'll quickly give you a rundown of what all the different types of enemies do. Most of the enemies you will see throughout the game will be the common zombies, but these guys have so much to them. They're about average in every single stat, and you can find them either almost completely naked or with heavy suited armor. They can only attack you at close range. Next up we have the zombie archers. You will see these guys throughout the entire game as well, and they will piss you off. They never have any armor on apart from their clothes. They always hang around in the back and try to snipe you, and will pull out a sword when you get too close. Skeletons. Skeletons love to dodge roll, and I mean they fucking love to dodge roll, and will dodge a lot of your attacks. And also when you kill them, they will pop into a bunch of bones and fly everywhere, which is pretty fun. They can also come with armored variants. And then the possessed armor is a very scary tank that will slowly walk towards you and try to stab you with his sword. Just keep bashing the shit out of him and eventually he'll go down. Now I've got to compliment this game for its absolutely amazing AI. Being someone that plays Bone Lab every single day, seeing enemies actually try and dodge your attacks and swing their weapons around their heads and stuff is something that is absolutely mind-blowing. And I know there are probably other games that do this too, but there's something about Hellsplit Arenas that just fascinates me. Every single fight can feel intense and different, and that is absolutely complemented by the amount of different enemy combinations you can get. All of this combined with the absolutely ginormous array of a bunch of other stuff that can also affect the fights. For example, ginormous open world maps, stage hazards, bosses, the different weapons and armor you personally are using. No matter what you do, you can always find a way to make the gameplay fresh, and I love it. I'm going to speak about all of those things further in depth shortly in the video too, so stick around.
Can I get one Ohioan grimace?
I previously mentioned that enemies can have different types of armor, and one thing that I absolutely adore about the armor system is that it is breakable. You can smack different parts of enemies' armors to eventually shatter them, from anything from their helmets to their shin pads, giving you a way in to attack them. You can even break shields too. I think this is just so smart, and it gives you an extra way to strategize on how to take out enemies. Or you can just chop their fucking head off. One thing I of course have to touch on majorly is the weapons. These are what make this game. And first I'm going to explain their simple progression system. From each level you complete, you will be rewarded with gold, and you can of course buy weapons with gold, but they are not all unlocked by default. You will have to go through the campaign level by level to slowly unlock more and more weapons, and of course the price will also go up. It's a very simple system that works wonders, and it definitely added a lot to the game. I was always super excited to see what the next weapon would be as they get more and more crazy the further I get into the game. All of the weapons play really well in this game, and the amount of options you have can make everyone's experience personalized. You'll never feel bad about not being able to use a certain class because it's too underpowered or janky. They all work brilliantly. There's also some very unique classes and stuff that I did not expect to see. Why don't we check them out right now?
Get the fuck out. Get the fuck out.
This game goes above and beyond just simple melee medieval weapons. You can get stuff like throwables, bow and arrows, and just about every single type of melee weapon you can imagine. And also what's stopping you from throwing the melee weapons at enemies. That's mostly what I did to cheese the final boss. What I also really like about the weapons in this game is that you can find weapons in different levels too that you usually wouldn't be able to get. For example, lances, which you can use to ram people on horses, and these lances are also destructible and can break in half. Just adds a whole nother layer of depth to the game. You can also find stuff like pitchforks and even spoons. If you try hard enough, you can kill someone with a spoon, trust me. The weapons like shurikens actually come in little holsters that you physically have to attach to yourself as a little pouch, and you can even move these around at any point in the game. It's super cool customizing your own holsters to your will to grab stuff where you want to grab it. And just like the variety of weapons, it adds personality to the gameplay. You really can play this game however the hell you want. And in my opinion, that's what VR is all about, and that's why I think Bone Lab is the best VR game. We need more games that allow you to have absolute freedom. There's one more large mechanic that weapons can utilize. That is... Have you ever wanted attachments in a medieval fighting game? No? Well, fuck you, this is the closest you're gonna get anyway. Hellsplit has a small selection of potions. Some of these are healing potions, and some of these can be applied to weapons. Some examples are poison and ice potions. You can tip these onto your weapon physically, and I've got to say, it feels great doing it. These simply just slightly enhance your weapons with obviously the effect that the potion was, and adds a nice little extra layer to combat. I personally didn't use potions too much in my playthrough, but some people might be a massive fan of them and use them a lot. They'll rarely randomly spawn in levels, and you can also buy them whenever you want, and attach them to your hip holster so you can have them stored there a bit like grenades or something. Once again, showing off the really cool holster system where you can kind of put stuff where you want and carry them through levels. An effective addition to an already great combat system. It's Wigwam here, man. I'm out here stroking my... So let's move on to the maps that Hellsplit actually has to offer. The majority of the campaign is always composed of the same circular arenas, sometimes with different things around them. But on occasion, you can get special missions that can either be giant open areas or unique areas like dungeons and massive bridges. Every time I got one of these new unique maps, I was so happy and excited to go and explore them because there's a lot to see. Some of the maps are absolutely brilliant, and I found myself just purposely not killing the enemies just so I could kind of explore and see what limits I could push. And these ginormous big areas open up a bunch of possibilities for stuff like horses, which we'll get to in just a second. And the main thing that I like the most about the interesting and unique maps is this game has the tools necessary for anybody. It's got hooks for the Dead by Daylight dudes, and it's even got the bikini bottom mechanism for Squidwards out there. Stage hazards can be found in practically any level, even the circular arenas. You can find small pads that can have stuff like rising spikes, or maybe having frozen flames come out of them. But the best and my most favorite stage hazards are definitely the ones like these torture devices that you can find in the dungeon. And they actually work. Stuff like the hooks are really funny to push zombies onto because they glitch the hell out and are just completely stuck there. You can even throw the zombies into an Iron Maiden. Almost all the contraptions that you see in levels like this do actually have functionality. I couldn't get a kill with the guillotine, but as you can see, it clearly can move, so I wonder if you can actually get it to work. The stage hazards do a great job of switching up your strategy. And obviously, if you want to delve into more fun and silly combat, then you're definitely going to want to utilize the many different stage hazards that you will find throughout the levels. So I'm sure you have seen throughout the video that we have been utilizing a horse vehicle in this game. And it is the only one, but it's all the game needs. The horse is very simple to control, and you can easily get on and off of it, and is extremely fast. So you can imagine comboing your variety of weapons with this vehicle, especially on the ginormous maps, is always a lot of fun. Modding is also something that's up and coming with this game, which makes this horse a good baseline for stuff like vehicles. There's not much else you can really say about the horses, but you've seriously got to give them a try if you think about getting this game. Speaking of, there's something very important we haven't spoken about yet. The boss fights in this game are an interesting topic. To my knowledge, there's only around 4, and they will appear after every 10 levels in a certain segment of the game. And these bosses aren't just buffed up versions of normal enemies, they are in fact unique in different ways, which I'm going to be honest is something I didn't expect. I wasn't sure if there was even going to be bosses, and I thought if there was bosses, they're just going to be souped up versions of existing enemies. But they actually all come equipped with different aspects that separate them from normal enemies. Some examples are this fat dude. He's a super heavyweight guy who's super hard to knock over. And then you've also got the fucking Castle Crashers, which is a multiple enemy boss fight that all have different elements. And then the final boss, which is on par with a fucking Dark Souls player. This game goes from fighting enemies which have slightly predictable movesets to God himself. My dumb strategy was to bring as many weapons as possible and just keep throwing them at him until he eventually dies, which didn't work out very well. Genuinely a really hard challenge. And I would like to go back and try and beat him with actually only meleeing him instead of kind of just cheesing it. And to this day, I'm not even sure if I actually did kill him legit or if I somehow glitched him out of the map which made him die. I fucked him up. So, that's Hellsplit Arena. I genuinely believe that Hellsplit Arena has the best medieval combat out of any VR game. I barely ever come out of my shell when it comes to speaking about other VR games or playing anything that's not a bone lab, so having this game lift me out of that has actually been really helpful. I really enjoyed playing this game and was so pleasantly surprised that there's other good VR games out there. It was a pleasure playing through this game, and thank you to Deep Type Games for making such a wonderful game. I understand that VR development is very hard, and I feel like this game is underrated. It really needs to get out there more. The visuals are beautiful, the gameplay and combat are very well refined and feel really good. The weapon variety is top notch, and the stage hazards are one of my favourite parts. Not to mention the amazing variety in different enemies which you can fight, which always changes the game up, and a bunch of side content that you can also check out. Hellsplit Arena is definitely one of my top VR games. I've absolutely loved playing through it, and I hope you guys have too. If not, go and grab Hellsplit Arena today, because it's brilliant. And with all that said, I think I can finally conclude this video. I've had this video in the back burner for absolutely months, and I don't know why it's took me so long to finally finish it. I think part of it was fear that this video wouldn't do well, considering that everything else on my channel is Bone Lab. So if you guys enjoyed, please do hit the like button and drop a comment, because it helps a lot more than you think. Thank you all so much for watching, and thank you to Deep Type Games for sending me over Hellsplit Arena and bringing it to my attention. And let me know if you want me to speak about any more VR games, because I'm open to anything now. Thank you so much everybody for watching, and I'll see you later. Goodbye. Thank you so much to all of my supporters. GunnaDaHun, TenTickles, ZeroMatic, PieLoverVI, Mizzykeen, DankMemeBoi, PurgeFlyFox, JoJoRune Kris, Ninja Gamer, Fernando Urista, Oddo, SageOfKindness, Flamsey, CollzToons, Mystery, Lealdo, The Best Evie, FlipperFlopper, Sardeliny, PSKing, Gamer Tincan Endure, FancyMan, FrostyTheBeastar, YoshiKooper, Valley08, VEXIE, and Shube. You guys are all absolute legends.